The moment 28-year-old Ryan Murphy walked onto the voice stage, something felt different. Not because of his appearance, though his tall frame and dark hair were striking under the bright studio lights, but because of the weight he carried. An invisible burden that seemed to press down on his shoulders with every step. He moved slowly, deliberately, as if each movement required conscious effort, as if the simple act of being there took every ounce of strength he possessed. What nobody in that studio knew was that Ryan wasn't supposed to be there alone, and what was about to happen would prove that some dreams are so powerful they transcend even death itself. Hidden in the shadows backstage, the voice production team had prepared something that would either heal Ryan's broken heart or shatter it completely. They had no way of knowing which way it would go, but they knew that sometimes the most powerful moments in television happen when raw human emotion meets unexpected grace. Let me take you back to understand how Ryan got to this moment. Because his journey to the voice stage was paved with loss so profound it had nearly destroyed him. Ryan Murphy had an identical twin brother named Danny. For 28 years, they had been inseparable in the way that only twins can be, sharing thoughts before speaking them, finishing each other's sentences, moving through life as two halves of the same soul. They had been born 3 minutes apart, Ryan first, Danny following as if he couldn't bear to be away from his brother for even those brief moments. Music had been their shared language since childhood. Growing up in a small town in Montana, they had learned to play guitar together, their fingers finding the same chords, their voices blending in harmonies that seemed effortless because they came from the same source. By high school, they were performing at every local venue that would have them, two boys with guitars and voices that seemed to have been designed to complement each other perfectly. The Murphy twins, as they became known throughout their hometown, had dreams bigger than Montana could contain. They planned to move to Nashville together, to audition for record labels as a duo, to take the country music world by storm with their authentic sound and unbreakable bond. They had saved every penny from their construction jobs, practiced every night after work, and submitted an audition video to The Voice as Murphy Brothers, a duo that they believed could go all the way. Everything changed on a rainy Tuesday night in March, 6 months before their scheduled voice audition. Danny had been driving home from work, taking the winding mountain road they'd traveled thousands of times before. A drunk driver ran a red light at the intersection near their house, hitting Danny's truck at full speed. Danny was killed instantly, 3 minutes before Ryan would have been taking the same route home from his own job site. Ryan's world didn't just change that night. It ended. The other half of his soul was gone, taking with it not just his brother but their shared dreams, their music, their future that had always been plural, never singular. The voice audition that was supposed to feature Murphy Brothers was automatically canceled. How could there be Murphy Brothers when there was only one Murphy left? For months, Ryan couldn't even look at his guitar, let alone play it. The silence in his apartment, the same apartment he and Danny had shared, where Danny's guitar still sat in the corner untouched, was deafening. Well-meaning friends and family members encouraged him to keep playing, to honor Danny's memory through music, but Ryan couldn't see how music could exist in a world without the harmony that had defined it. The turning point came on what would have been their 29th birthday. Ryan was sitting in Danny's old room, holding one of their song notebooks, when his phone rang. It was a producer from The Voice, calling to ask if he would consider auditioning as a solo artist. Apparently, their original audition video had made such an impression that the show wanted to give Ryan a chance to pursue their dream alone. "I can't," Ryan had told the producer, his voice breaking. "We were supposed to do this together. Without Danny, I don't even know who I am as a musician." But that night, Ryan had a dream. He saw Danny standing in their old high school auditorium, guitar in hand, smiling that mischievous grin that had gotten them into trouble their whole lives. "Ryan," Danny said in the dream, "you think I'm gone, but I'm not. I'm in every song we ever wrote, every harmony we ever sang, every dream we ever shared. You carry me with you. Now go show them what the Murphy Brothers sound like." Ryan woke up with tears on his cheeks and Danny's voice still echoing in his mind. He called the voice back and accepted the audition. Standing on the stage now, Ryan felt the crushing weight of representing not just his own dreams, but Danny's as well. The bright lights seemed harsh without Danny beside him to share nervous jokes. The audience felt enormous without his brother's presence to make him feel less alone. But he was here, and somehow, that felt like Danny was here too. Blake Shelton, Kelly Clarkson, John Legend, and Niall Horan sat in their red chairs, their backs turned, waiting to judge him solely on the merit of his voice. None of them knew his story yet, knew about the empty space beside him where his twin should have been standing, knew that every note he was about to sing carried the weight of 2 lifetimes of shared dreams. "Whenever you're ready," Blake called out encouragingly, his voice carrying that familiar warmth that had made him America's favorite coach. Ryan stepped up to the microphone, his hands trembling slightly as he adjusted it. He had chosen "You Raise Me Up," a song that he and Danny had performed together countless times, a song that now felt like a prayer, a bridge between this world and whatever came after. He began to sing, and his voice, rich, soulful, carrying the weight of profound loss but also profound love, filled the studio with an authenticity that couldn't be manufactured. This wasn't just a performance. This was a conversation with someone who couldn't answer back, a love letter set to music, a way of keeping a promise to dreams that had been interrupted but not destroyed. "When I am down and, oh my soul, so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be." As Ryan reached the chorus, something extraordinary happened. The voice production team, in a moment of inspired compassion, began displaying a large screen behind the coaches, showing photos and videos of Ryan and Danny together, performing as children, laughing at family gatherings, sharing the kind of moments that only twins understand. Danny's face filled the screen, alive and vibrant, his guitar in his hands, his voice harmonizing with Ryan's in old home videos. Ryan saw the screen and stopped singing mid-note. The sight of his brother's face, larger than life behind the coaches, was more than his carefully constructed composure could handle. He broke down completely, falling to his knees on the stage, sobbing with the kind of grief that comes from the deepest places of loss. "It was supposed to be here with me," Ryan cried, his voice echoing through the silent studio. "We were going to audition together. We had it all planned. Danny, I can't do this without you. I don't know how to be just me. I've never been just me." The studio fell into the kind of silence that happens when everyone realizes they're witnessing something sacred, something too profound for applause or commentary. This wasn't just a nervous contestant having stage fright. This was a man grieving the loss of half his soul in the most public way possible. Blake Shelton felt something he'd never experienced in all his years of coaching. Without thinking, without consulting anyone, without following any protocol, he was out of his chair and vaulting over the barrier that separated the coaches from the stage. His cowboy boots hit the polished floor with purpose as he ran toward Ryan. "Hey, brother," Blake said softly as he reached the broken man on the stage. "I'm here. Talk to me." Ryan looked up through his tears, seeing this tall country star kneeling beside him with an expression of pure compassion. "He was my best friend. He was my other half. We were supposed to do this together, and now I'm here alone and I don't know how to sing without his harmony." Blake's own eyes filled with tears as he truly understood what he was witnessing. "Ryan, what's your brother's name?" Danny Murphy. We were the Murphy brothers. We had this whole plan." Ryan's voice broke again. Blake looked up at the screen, still showing Danny's smiling face. Then back at Ryan. "Ryan, I want you to look at that screen. Look at your brother's face. Does he look like someone who would want you to quit? Does he look like someone who would want you to give up on the dream you share?" Ryan wiped his eyes and looked at the screen where Danny's image smiled down at them. "No. He'd be mad if I didn't finish the song. He'd say I was being dramatic." Blake smiled through his own tears. "Then let's not keep him waiting. But Ryan, I want you to understand something. You're not singing alone up here. Every harmony you ever shared with Danny, every song you wrote together, every dream you had. That's all still here with you. He's not gone, brother. He's just singing the harmony from a different place. But this is the moment no one in the studio and no one watching at home ever saw coming. Blake stood up and addressed the entire studio, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had spent decades understanding what real music meant. Ladies and gentlemen, this young man just showed us something that most people never have the courage to show. He showed us what it looks like to love someone so much that losing them nearly destroys you, but caring about them so much that you keep going anyway. He turned back to Ryan, his voice gentle but strong. Now, Ryan, I want you to get up, I want you to look at that picture of your brother, and I want you to finish this song. Not just for yourself, but for Danny. Show him that the Murphy brothers aren't gone. They're just performing from different stages now. Ryan stood up slowly, wiping his face, looking at Danny's image on the screen. I don't know if I can sing it alone. You're not alone, Blake said firmly. Look around you. He gestured to the other coaches, who had all turned their chairs and were watching with expressions of support and encouragement. Kelly Clarkson was crying openly. John Legend had his hand over his heart. Niall was leaning forward with the kind of attention that showed he understood something profound was happening. And more than that, Blake continued, Danny's here. I can feel him. Every person in this studio can feel him. So sing with him, Ryan. Let him provide the harmony he always provided. Ryan walked back to the microphone, looked up at the screen where Danny's face beamed down at him, and began to sing again. But this time, something magical happened. As Ryan sang, it was as if Danny's voice joined his, not audibly but spiritually, emotionally, in the way that only twins can share. The song became a duet between the living and the dead, between love and loss, between endings and new beginning. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. When Ryan hit the final high note, his voice soaring with both grief and gratitude, the studio erupted. All four coaches hit their buttons simultaneously, but this wasn't about competition anymore. This was about honoring love, celebrating the bonds that transcend death, and recognizing that some performances are bigger than any television show. Blake was already walking back toward Ryan before the other chairs had finished turning. When he reached him, he pulled him into a hug that lasted longer than any embrace in voice history. Ryan, Blake said, his voice thick with emotion, that was one of the most powerful things I've ever witnessed. You didn't just sing that song, you sang it with your brother. You showed everyone in this room what love looks like when it refuses to let go. Kelly Clarkson, herself moved beyond words, spoke through her tears. Ryan, I could feel Danny's presence in every note you sang. You honored him, you honored your bond, and you showed us all what it means to carry love forward even when it hurts. John Legend added, that wasn't just a performance, Ryan. That was a testament to the power of music to connect us across any distance, even the distance between life and death. Niall, clearly emotional, said simply, your brother was here, Ryan. We all felt him, and he's so proud of you. Ryan chose Teen Blake, not just because Blake had been the first to help him, but because he recognized in the country star someone who understood that the best music comes from the most honest places. Someone who knew that love doesn't end with death. It just changes key. Over the following weeks, Blake became more than Ryan's coach. He became his friend, his support system, and his reminder that carrying someone's memory isn't a burden, it's a gift. Blake helped Ryan understand that he wasn't betraying Danny by succeeding alone, he was honoring him by keeping their shared dreams alive. Working with Ryan changed my perspective on everything, Blake said in an interview during the live shows. He reminded me that the most powerful music comes from the deepest love, and that sometimes the most beautiful harmonies are the ones we carry in our hearts. Ryan's journey through the competition became a masterclass in love, loss, and the resilience of the human spirit. His version of Brothers brought the studio to its feet. His duet with Blake on He Stopped Loving Her Today showcased his ability to channel grief into art. Each performance was a conversation with Danny, a way of keeping their brotherhood alive through music. During the finale, Ryan performed an original song he had written for Danny, called Twin, as he sang about growing up as half of a whole, about learning to be complete alone, about carrying someone's voice in your heart forever. There wasn't a dry eye in the studio. The screen behind him showed home videos of him and Danny performing together as children, their voices blending in harmonies that seemed to come from heaven itself. Ryan won The Voice, but his real victory was already achieved. He had shown millions of viewers that love doesn't end with death, that dreams can survive even the worst losses, and that sometimes the most beautiful music comes from the deepest grief. In his victory speech, Ryan's words were clear and strong. "This isn't just my win. This is for Danny, for every twin who's lost their other half, for everyone who's ever had to learn how to be whole when half of their heart is missing. Love doesn't die. It just learns to sing different songs." Blake stood behind him throughout his speech, his hand on Ryan's shoulder, tears streaming down his face, as this 28-year-old man taught the world a lesson about love, loss, and the power of music to bridge any gap, even the one between life and death. Today, Ryan performs throughout the country, often with Danny's picture on stage beside him. He started a foundation for grieving twins and siblings, using music therapy to help others navigate the impossible journey of learning to be singular when you were born to be plural. The guitar that Danny never got to play on The Voice stage now travels with Ryan to every performance, a reminder that some harmonies are eternal, some dreams are bigger than one lifetime, and some loves are so strong that not even death can silence them. Blake Shelton learned something that night that changed his understanding of music forever. "Ryan taught me that the most powerful performances aren't just about the voice you can hear. Sometimes they're about the voices that sing along from somewhere we can't see, but can always feel. Because sometimes the most beautiful duets are performed by singers separated by worlds. Sometimes the strongest voices are the ones that carry love beyond death. And sometimes a man singing alone can teach us all what it means to never truly be alone when love lives in your heart." Ryan Murphy proved that The Voice isn't just about individual talent. It's about the connections that shape us, the love that sustains us, and the dreams that survive even when the dreamers don't. His brother Danny may not have gotten to stand on that stage, but his presence filled every note, proving that some harmonies are eternal, and some bonds can never be broken.